Hello and welcome to Finding Employment with AI, part of the Digital Futures Festival from Employability Bridgend. I'm Jaymie Thomas, co-founder of AI Wales, and in this short video we'll be looking at how AI, and specifically Chat GPT, can help you find and apply for a new job. So what is AI Wales? We're a member community based in Cardiff, in Tramshed Tech. We hold free evening sessions which are all about AI. These are every month or two. They're usually talks, and we have some practical workshops and occasionally some panel discussions covering things such as the ethics of AI and the impact of this new AI technology on society. You can find us on meetup.com, and we're also on X, formerly Twitter. Our audience is a diverse and friendly bunch. If you're interested in learning more about AI, we'd love to see you there. Okay, so let's look at the topics we're going to cover today. Firstly, we'll start with a brief overview of AI. Then we'll look at what generative AI is and what it means. After that, we'll look at how generative AI can help you research a new career, discover funding opportunities to land your next job, how it can help you analyze your CV and improve your cover letter, and then finally, how you can use Chat GPT to test you ahead of an interview. So what do we mean when we say artificial intelligence or AI? Well, this was a term actually coined by John McCarthy way back in 1956. So as much as we think AI is a relatively new phenomenon, maybe from like the 80s, 90s, maybe later, the concept is actually a lot older than that. And it simply means the behavior of a machine that looks like it has a built-in intelligence. It's mimicking a human or another animal. And I say that because that's where we are with the current level of neural networks that are powering things like Chat GPT and large language models. But it appears to have a mind of its own, and it appears to be able to work things out for itself. And that's why we call it artificial intelligence. There are many different types of AI. There's machine learning, deep learning, and computer vision, to name just a few. Today, we're going to focus on generative AI. This is the next frontier in artificial intelligence. It uses machine learning to create original content in various formats, including text, graphics, and video. We'll be focusing on text today, but feel free to check out the text-to-graphics products like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, as well as the incredible text-to-video examples released this week by OpenAI and their Sora product, SORA. They're truly mind-blowing. I've put the Copilot logo up there because that's Microsoft's version of ChatGPT. Microsoft, as you might know, invested in OpenAI to the tune of £10 billion, or dollars perhaps, $10 billion. But so their version of ChatGPT for the public is called Copilot, and this is being rolled out across Microsoft 365, which is the new name for Office 365. So when you're using AI in those products, it's actually Copilot that you're using there, and we're going to use the free web version of that today. The next question then is, how does this generative AI for text work? Well, the system's trained on billions of web pages, the content of open source books, that kind of thing. And what it does, it analyzes each word. It breaks those down into something called tokens, so we can think of those as syllables, something we're familiar with. And then those are stored in what's called a vector space. So depending on what it thinks the meaning of that chunk of a word is, it sort of finds a unique location within the cube, let's call it a cube, or the vector space, and stores it there. And then when we ask the system to do something via a query or a prompt, as it's known in generative AI, it then looks at what we've asked it. It then looks for matching tokens that it's found previously relate to that. And then it starts spitting them out. And then to us, this looks like it's forming words and then sentences and then paragraphs. But really, it's just predicting which is the most statistically likely word or token that should follow next. So it sounds complex, and it is complex, but for our purposes, maybe we can think of it as something a little more like this. So just imagine ChatGPT, there is each bit of track it's slapping down is just another token that it's spitting out until it reaches the end of the answer to our query. Okay, so enough theory for the moment anyway. Let's get on with some practical stuff now. Everything we use today is free to use and access. If you're following along with your laptop, pause the video now, open a browser and go to copilot.microsoft.com. When you get there, the first thing you'll need to do is sort out the cookies, of course. Once you've accepted or changed those, you'll see this home screen. It gives you some ideas here with the graphics. Notice on the right there are different types of GPTs or different types of modes you can use Copilot in. So we're going to use Copilot itself, but there's also a designer for doing graphics, vacation planner, cooking assistant, and fitness trainers. There's ideas of other things you can use. I think if you create a Microsoft account, you'll be able to save the questions that you ask it or the input prompts. But the way this works is super simple. There's a text box down here, and whatever we want to know, we put in here. Sometimes we have a very good idea of what we want to go on and do next in terms of a job. But sometimes we're facing a career change. So one of the first things we're going to use Copilot to do is to help us think about maybe a change of career. While you can use the text box to ask Chat GPT anything you want, it's worth noting here that in the suggested prompts up above, one of them is actually about making a career change. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, which will then put that prompt into the box for us and begin a conversation with Copilot. And you can see now this is all real time, this is not edited. So the speed this is coming back is the true speed that I'm doing this live in the moment. And already we're getting some good advice here. So this is quite generic. It's talking about making a career change in general, but it's saying that these are some of the opportunities and these are some of the trade-offs. For example, leaving an established career might mean that you start on a lower salary if the next industry or sector isn't something that you're already familiar with. But in general, you'll find these answers are great. In the free version, Copilot uses Chat GPT version 4.5, I think, or at least version 4. At busy times, the free version drops down to version 3.5, which was the first one they released. But that's still more than good enough for what we're doing here today. It's just 4 and 4.5 are more precise, that they scan more tokens to answer, so they can give sort of more nuanced, more refined answers. But for the kind of queries we're doing here today, this is more than good enough. Notice as well that whenever it gives you advice, under Learn More here, these are links as to where it found supporting information. So if you want to follow up on any of those referenced footnotes, you can see there that it includes them in the text where it links to those. So if you wanted to know more about this, you can click and it'll show you where it found that information and which web resources it's combined in this answer. So even though ChatGPT and generative AI, they can hallucinate, they can make stuff up because they're only thinking what statistically comes next, and you can fool them. You can ask them, what is the part of, I don't know, Mickey Mouse in Romeo and Juliet, and it might well give you an answer, and it won't just simply say, Mickey Mouse wasn't in Romeo and Juliet. It'll take what you give it as established fact and try to work with that. So as always, keep an eye on it. Don't trust it absolutely. But in terms of advice, things like this, these are pretty safe. Once we're done with this prompt, we can just say new topic, and then we'll get a blank, start with an empty conversation again. So let's now try a custom one. I'm going to say, I'm an office manager and I'm thinking of a career change, not a carrot salad. By the way, these prompts, when they come up, it's trying to guess what your next set of words is. And you can just hit tab to put in the suggestion, so it really speeds up typing. I'm going to say, I have an interest in aviation. What sort of jobs might suit my existing skill set? And we just hit return and away it goes. And then within seconds, you'll start to get an answer back from it. So it summarizes what it understands to be your query, just to check that it's got it right. And then as it says there, you might look at these kind of jobs if these were your parameters for your search. So it's a really creative way of maybe identifying queries that you hadn't thought of before. You can obviously be more specific. With generative AI in general, the more information you give it in the prompt, the more appropriate and detailed the answer that you get back will be. So, by all means, put in there as much information as you feel relevant, and you'll find then that that's reflected in the answers you get back as well. But you can see just from typing in, a few words there, I've now got some ideas of things I could go away and look at and start maybe looking at vacancies in these areas or what training is required. And that's even a thing that you can just go ahead and ask it. What training or certification would I need for these roles? And because it's all in the chat history, it will take in what we've said before and what it has said back to us in this answer as well. So when I say these roles, it has that context to understand what I'm referring to. Whereas maybe something like your Google Home Assistant, you ask it a second question and it's basically just been, it's been wiped. It forgot what you asked it of 2 minutes ago. That's not the case here. All the previous conversation is fed back into this query as well. So let's just ask that and just see what it says. Okay, so it's coming back with some stuff. Yep, so it's mentioning there sort of budgeting, aviation economics, and then it gives some examples of that. And also then the skills required for the other types of roles. I'm not going to read all this out. You can see it on screen and you'll be doing it for yourself anyway in your own role. But as a starting point to maybe go away and research some of these courses and certifications, this is super easy. Compare this with, say, your traditional Google or Bing search where you get a list of links back and you have to click them and you have to go and see what's on them, decide whether it's relevant. Well, now all this is done for you in one place in seconds. So again, you do need to check that these things are accurate, but given that it gives you the links to the sources it was drawing on anyway, this is a massive time saver. Since we're considering a career change, it might be nice if we could get our hands on some money to help us with training or that certification that we were just discussing. So we can, in addition to using our own research, maybe doing, Google, going on, say, the Welsh Government website, the local council website, and looking for support programs, we can actually speed some of that up by using Microsoft Copilot to help us with that. Here's a prompt that I've already typed in, just to save us waiting for that, saying that I'm in South Wales and just asking what funding opportunities are open to me. I'm going to submit that now to Copilot, and it starts coming back with information about what's available to me in the local area. So the Welsh Government Skills and Jobs Fund, support for apprenticeships as well. I'm expecting it to talk about the React program in here as well. That's something that I certainly know exists. There we go, React Plus. Yeah, so this is all money that you can apply for depending on your circumstances and the sort of career that you're looking to move into. But again, in terms of just doing that initial research, we've spent 30 seconds doing this already, and immediately we have things that we can action. So again, this is time saving, this is powerful stuff, and it's pointing us in the right direction. We're not having to wade through programs that are only for England or for Scotland, which might be the case if we went on the gov.uk website. It's worth mentioning there as well that it is calling out the government's, the gov.uk website's own grant search. So you can go, you can link to that and type in the sort of sector that you're looking for as well. And it'll tell you there if any grants are available. So all this can now be done within minutes. And then you've only got the job of applying for that money then. But at least the initial research can be done much faster now. Once we've identified the sector that we want to work in, maybe we've secured or applied for some funding, the next step now is to look at our CV and the cover letter that we send to accompany it when we're applying for jobs. So let's have a look at how generative AI can help us with that. Here, I've asked Microsoft Copilot whether it can create a CV for me. It can't here in the web, but what it's done is pointed me off at sites that help you do that. If you are paying for a Copilot subscription as part of Microsoft 365, you can do this sort of thing inside Microsoft Word, but it doesn't matter. You probably have a CV already. If you haven't, these sites can help you create one. But what you can do as well is you can paste the text of your CV once you have it into Copilot and ask it to make suggestions. Is this CV as effective as it could be? So what I've done is gone to Indeed, the job site. They have some example CVs there, and I've copied that into the clipboard on my computer, and I'm going to paste that in here now and ask Copilot to help me identify ways that I could improve this example CV. So we are limited to 2,000 characters, but even if you did this section by section in yours, then you can still get some worthwhile tips. So let's say, can you help make some suggestions and improvements to the following text, which is from my CV? And then I'm going to paste in the example CV and we'll see what it makes of it. So again, regardless of the size of the input prompt, quite quickly it's coming back with some answers. You see, and that was nearly 2,000 characters there as well. So it's searching that vector space that we spoke earlier, and there's now coming back. It's considered the text. It does it almost instantly. And then it's given us suggestions already. And you can see there that they are related. These are not just generic answers. Like it's picked up on the things that were pasted in there. And now it's given us actionable advice. So this is super powerful. And you can do the same with your cover letter as well, which typically won't be as long as 2,000 characters. But you can use that to really tighten up your application and try and get you just ahead, just get you into that next round of the interview. And as ever, at the end of the advice, you get links as well for related prompts. So like, how do I format it? Can you recommend online resources? What should I include in my cover letter? And you just click those. And again, you're off then getting interactive, actionable advice from Copilot. Last couple of sections now. As we get closer to getting that job, if we've got interviews, then we need to prepare for them. And Copilot can help us with this too. Let's take a look at how that can help us specifically get ready for interviews. You know the routine by now, so we're going to put a prompt in here and ask Copilot to help us prepare for an interview. So I'm going to say, I'm being interviewed for an office manager job. Can you help prepare me for the interview by asking me 10, and you can be as specific as you like with these numbers, 10 questions about the specific role which might come up in the interview. Again, don't be afraid to use slang and colloquialisms with Copilot. It will understand what you mean. So I can say things like come up, it will get that. So just submit that. And again, we wait for it to respond. Now, there is a limit on Chat GPT. Sometimes it does take a little while. The official rate limit for this is something like 5 queries a minute, so there's no way you're going to be hitting that, or a total of 8 hours generation time in a single day. And again, I'll be very impressed if you manage to hit that. But you do sometimes, especially at the moment while it's early days, it looks like it's not working. And sometimes if you give it just a moment or two, it will come back. Sometimes it doesn't. You just refresh the page and type the same thing in. I'm just going to give this a second here, and we'll just see if it does actually work itself out. Nope, that didn't work. So I've refreshed the page and I've typed up a very similar prompt here. And I'm just going to start again. I've got more confidence this time because it's a fresh page. So let's just submit that and then see what we get. Okay, and we're off. So I've asked it some questions here. I said 10 in the original query. So this is giving me common interview questions. Hopefully it'll hone in on the specific role of officer manager. But if it doesn't, we can always prompt that with a follow-up query. But I'm just going to see what it says here. So these are all quite generic questions. What are you doing in 5 years? What do you do outside work? Biggest achievement? All that sort of thing. So when this wraps up, which I suspect it will maybe give us 10 questions. Okay, so these are certainly valuable things, but you'll kind of get asked these questions at almost every job interview. These are quite generic. Okay, so it's given us 11. So now I can say, ask me 10 more, but about being an office manager. And to see what it says. Now it should get more specific because I've kind of prompted it, even though the original prompt was reasonably specific. Now you can see it's going in deep, and you can do this. You can put in your specific role, and you'll be quite amazed at the information that it has that it's able to draw on to give you an answer, even if you think, I don't know, oil rig work or something like super specific. It will have information in its database about this. And it can, you can even ask it to do multiple choice questions. So if you want to test your knowledge on something, it can do that as well. When I tried it, the scorekeeping wasn't too good. So if you do use it for sort of quizzing yourself, just make a note of how many you got right and wrong yourself. But you can see it's given us scenarios there and questions that now relate to the office manager position. Again, this is so useful because otherwise you're having to rely on reading web pages, asking friends and colleagues. And here you can train, you can get yourself ready anytime, day or night. So this is hugely powerful. Finally, then, let's have a look at how Microsoft Copilot can help you prepare for your new role once you have a job offer. Maybe you want to look at some of the challenges and obstacles that could be coming your way and be ready for those. And by the way, most of the images I've used on the index slides in this presentation, they've been generated by Microsoft Designer, which I think is used in the DALL-E text-to-image generation behind the scenes. And I wanted to include this one because even though now they've managed to iron out things like, this guy's got the right number of fingers on each hand, which was a problem before. People had 6 or 7 fingers on a hand. This guy's got 2 pens, which in theory is possible. Maybe he's just the peak of optimization and efficiency, which you will be after these tips as well. But just small things like this still make me chuckle, where you can see the details still being worked out. So do bear that in mind as you use Copilot, whether it's the text version, graphics now, or some possible text to video version in the future. There are still these small bugs, these small kinks in the logic code there. But as you can see, given that this is a custom image for my presentation, the quality of what you can do is fantastic. Anyway, let's see what Copilot does. I've told Copilot that I'm going to be starting my new job as an office manager, sticking with our previous example. And I've asked it here to tell me some of the challenges and obstacles that I could face in the role, and then provide some example solutions for each one as well. So let's see what it can come up with. Okay, so it's browsing the web now and collating that information. It starts with the congratulations. Nice. So yeah, it's talking about performance levels of employees, some things that we could do to start with, like a workflow analysis, the one-to-one meetings, is the team staffed appropriately? So again, you can see here, it's calling out it's putting words in bold for sort of key things that it's found, and presumably things that it's going to link off to at the end. But it's telling us which of these phrases are important, making the page very scannable as well. As we look down it, we can just see what's, which words stand out and why they deserve that extra attention. And as usual, we have the links across the bottom just saying where all this information came from. And again, you've got 3 follow-on prompts which are related to our query, such as how do I manage employee conflict? So once again, it's the same idea, but you can see how this enables us to be ready for that job ahead of time rather than have to be reactive when we're in the role. Maybe we're new, maybe we're dealing with people who've been there 10, 15, 20 years. But we can bring about change effectively and also be ready for things that might come our way. And that's it. So let's quickly revisit what we looked at today. We quickly covered what AI is, where it came from, how long it's been around. We looked at the different types of generative AI technology. We then used that AI technology in the form of Microsoft Copilot, backed by Chat GPT, to research new career options. We also looked at how to find funding opportunities and receive links off to websites that can help us with that. We then pasted in an example CV, and we could do the same with a cover letter as well to get tips on how to improve that. And we looked at interview preparation and facing our new role as well. So that's everything I have for you today. I hope you found that useful. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at j@aiwales.org, and the details for AI Wales meetups are on the screen there. If you are interested in coming along to one of those, you'd be very welcome. As I say, we're a diverse and friendly group. The talks are not always, for industry practitioners. We have lots of stuff for beginners. So do check us out, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.